Welcome to Unfiltered Makeup. I'm Anne Marie, and today we're going to continue our quest to find a great cruelty-free and vegan foundation option from the drugstore. If you've seen my previous video of my top 3 favorite foundations, you know I have 2 favorite high-end foundations and a favorite drugstore option already. So my favorite drugstore option is the LA Girl Pro Matte High Def Long Wear Matte Foundation. And while I really enjoy this foundation, it is a matte foundation, and I personally have dry skin, so it's a little bit on the dry side for me. Now, if you're someone who has oily skin or combo skin, you might really enjoy this one as is. And there are some things we can do, like adding some oil or mixing different foundations into it to make it a little less dry. I want to find a foundation formula at the drugstore that works pretty well. So I'm actually hoping to replace this as my number 1 option. Last video that I did a foundation review, I did the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation. And this foundation didn't, unfortunately, replace the LA Girl as my number 1. While it is hydrating, I was very hopeful. It has a nice glow for those of us with dry skin. It was beautiful on that. However, I did personally feel that it kind of emphasized fine lines and wrinkles, and it also did have a few spots where it got kind of dry and dry patches that aren't really dry patches on my face. So it was interesting. And that was kind of my first impression of it. And I have since tried it again and worn it, and I still think it's okay, but I don't think it's a great option for me. Today, I decided to try another foundation that is cruelty-free and vegan at the drugstore, and this is the Makeup Revolution London Conceal and Define Full Coverage Foundation. I picked this one in the shade F4.5. I haven't even opened it. You can see it's still got the plastic packaging on here. So I thought today we could go ahead and do a first impressions test. But what I wanted to do going forward with these foundation reviews, as we're on the quest to find a great option at the drugstore for foundation that's cruelty-free and vegan, I want to try to include additional wear tests and updates so that you can see more than just a first impression, but how it held up if I continue to wear it, and if there's ways that we can make it work if it's not the best. Because now that I have it, I still want to use it and get the most out of it. So I'm going to start this video by using this foundation, the Revolution Conceal and Define Foundation. We're going to test it. I'm going to do one side of my face with my favorite makeup brush, and then on the other side of the face I'm going to use a beauty sponge to test that, as requested by someone out there who wants to see what it looks like comparatively with a brush and a sponge. So I'm going to incorporate that. My face is already prepped and ready to go, and we'll go ahead and see how it wears for first impressions, and then I'm going to come back and check in. And also I'll let you know how it kind of works with other products that are my favorite tried and true, because of course we want our foundations to work with the makeup products that we're already using, and we don't want to have to buy more and other things, or if it doesn't work with our current products, then maybe it's not going to be the best option. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up and we'll get started. Well, I noticed right off the bat here that this is a nice frosted glass bottle, and I went to open it, and that I didn't realize is it's a doe foot applicator, so you can put that right on your face. I'm actually going to put it on a palette and work from there first to try. I don't recommend taking it out and putting it on a palette because I just made a huge mess, but I wanted to show you the consistency of it. All right, so here's that consistency of it. It is a nice thickness, not too watery, not very thick. Compared to the LA Girl Pro Matte, I would say it's quite a bit thinner, but not thin. So again, I'm going to start on the left side of my face using the BK Beauty 101 brush. Got it nice and clean to be ready for today. And I'm just going to start and buff it into the face and see how it applies. The color match right off the bat looks like it's a little bit light. It's possible that this will oxidize as it dries down, so it will potentially get darker as it dries, so that might be okay. As it oxidizes, it might turn into a better color match than it is. All right, so here is the left side with the brush. The right side has no makeup on, obviously. For a full coverage foundation, I want to say it's not the fullest coverage. I could potentially build and make it fuller, but I would say right off the bat, it feels more of a medium coverage to me. It's definitely, again, not the most skin-like. It almost is sitting kind of on top of the skin and already have some of those little kind of dry, not dry spots, but like dry speckles where it kind of just sits on top of the skin. And that's very common for me with my dry skin. And even the LA Girl foundation will do that a little bit with the dryness. So it's not terrible. You have to be up very close to see it. So it's not terrible. It's not immediately wowing me, but let's try it on the other side with a damp beauty sponge. It's interesting that when it first hits the face, it kind of seems a bit oranger and a bit the wrong color, but as it blends out, it is blending out a bit lighter. The left side seems to be starting to dry down, and it doesn't yet appear to be oxidizing. It appears to be kind of setting into a powder the same color. Using the damp beauty sponge, it definitely has given a sheer coverage, and it does look a tad more skin-like, but it's also because it's blended out and in sheer coverage. So it does look better, in my opinion, this far using the damp beauty sponge. I can show you up close. This is the beauty sponge side. This is the brush side. It is a tad bit light. I'm not blown away. I'm gonna keep trying, see how it goes, see how it wears. I'm interested to see how it wears, how it works and layers with other products. I think the coverage is just okay. There's definitely a dry patch on the forehead, especially on the side that I used the brush to apply. So keeping that in mind. It was looking quite light in the monitor here. I think on camera it's probably reading quite light. I'm going to try and kind of darken it up with some of my other products to make it look a little more lifelike so I don't look ill. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But first I'm going to go ahead and put some concealer on, and I'm going to again use the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Creamy Concealer. I've used this in a couple of videos trying to give it a fair shot. So I'm going to go ahead and try it again and see how it works with this foundation, which will be really interesting because before when I wore it with hydrating foundations, and this one's a little drier, so it will be really interesting to see how it wears with this a bit drier concealer. For the concealer, I'm using the shade Light 40N. When I tried it before, I always blended it out with a brush. Today, since I have my beauty sponge out and ready to go, I'm going to try it with a beauty sponge to see how it works using a different tool. Again, for the concealer, I still just don't really like how it's sitting on my skin under the eyes. I am finding that I don't mind it, especially in this shade, as a spot concealer corrector for the face, for blemishes and things like that, especially because it's fairly close to my foundation shades. It does seem like it's thick enough and works well as a spot concealer. So that's another way I can continue to use it going forward. And I'm going to go ahead and powder it down, but I do have to say where we're kind of at right now, even with the drier foundation, I just don't really like how it sits on the skin, to be perfectly honest. To set my makeup today, I'm going to be using the Conceal Cloud Set Feathery Powder. This is a pressed powder. And I'm just going to be using a beauty puff to set it. So I chose this powder today because it is a little bit darker than some of my other setting powders. It's not a translucent powder, and it is a pressed powder, obviously. And so I was feeling that the makeup was looking pretty light, and I was hoping with the addition of this powder that it would help to kind of bring it a little bit darker and help me look a little more awake. This is a really smoothing setting powder, so I really enjoy how it sits on the skin, and with a little bit of darker color, I think it really helped kind of liven up the look a little bit here. So this is a nice velvety formula, and I really do enjoy this one. And just as a reminder, nothing here is sponsored or affiliated. I'm just here to share my love of makeup with you. I'm just having fun on the quest to find a great drugstore cruelty-free and vegan foundation, because I want makeup to be accessible to you. If you are interested in finding it, loving it, exploring it, I want you to have options. I want you to be informed. And here at Unfiltered Makeup, we just believe in being yourself. You're free to be yourself here and use makeup to express yourself. And that might be something different every day, because the great thing about makeup is that it washes off. So today you can be one thing and tomorrow you get to be something else. No one is going to put you in a box. So thank you for watching this video. If you like content like this, please do like and subscribe. I would love to have you. And I'm going to be back with more information about this foundation. I'm going to apply some more typical products, let you know how you layered, let you know how the products layered, and then I will also check in with a wear test and let you know how it's going. So far, I will let you know that it is definitely below the LA Girl, and I think it's neck and neck with the Pretty Fresh. I have to see how it wears. They're both kind of okay. The Pretty Fresh is more hydrating, which I appreciate for my dry skin, but the Revolution Conceal and Define is not really any worse, but it's not really any better. So as we go on, maybe I'll have more information than that. So right now I'm going to go finish up the rest of my makeup and then let you know where I stand. I'm going to use the Pacifica Sunbeam Bronze as my bronzer. This is a cream bronzer in the shade Sandy Kiss. And again, I will use the bronzer to help kind of give a little more life to the skin, since this shade is a bit on the light side. Oh, and I'm using my Real Techniques Expert Face Brush for this bronzer. Because the foundation is a little drier and I did use that pressed setting powder to set it, I'm going to use cream products on top of it to make sure I do have some hydration to my dry skin. So I used that cream bronzer from Pacifica, and now I'm going to use the e.l.f. Putty Blush. And this is in the shade Turks and Caicos. So I'm going to use this on the cheeks as my blush. And for the brush, I'm going to be using the Angie Hot and Flashy A507 for my blush. And like I mentioned before, these brushes that I'm showing are great because they work for cream or powder products. So that's the cool thing, is you can use the same brushes for all the different types of products. Sometimes they perform differently with different products, but they all perform, they are meant to perform with these synthetic fibers. They're meant to perform on cream or powder, so you can use them for whatever you see fit. Just because a brush says that it's meant for something doesn't mean you actually have to use it for that. I'm gonna go do my brows with the same 3 brow products I have been using regularly, and I will link that video in case you're interested in what those are. As for how the rest of the makeup applied over the top, it does seem to be playing well with others, so we'll give it a thumbs up for that. Now I'm going to turn the camera off, go finish my eye makeup, and I will be back later to check in and give a progress report on how the foundation is wearing. After wearing the foundation for a couple of hours, here are my thoughts so far. I prefer the application, the coverage that the brush side gave rather than the side with the beauty sponge. However, that being said, with the brush side, it does look a little drier. So with the more full coverage came the more dryness. I do think the application of the cream products like the bronzer and the cream blush did help with the application, and from farther away, it does look better because you can't tell quite how dry it is. Up close, especially around the mouth on both sides, regardless of whether it was applied with the beauty blender or the beauty sponge or with the brush, it's looking fairly dry around the mouth. So overall, I do like the coverage with the side with the brush. However, I would need to do a few things different with it to make it not be so dry on my dry skin. And at this point, I would rank the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Foundation above this one, but still below the LA Girl Foundation. So I will come back and check in and let you know how it continues to wear. It's the end of the evening. There is no light outside. I'm coming to give you my final thoughts of the Revolution Conceal and Define Foundation. Overall, for someone with dry skin, I do find that it is a bit on the dry side. This is interesting. Usually it is rare for a foundation to wear better throughout the day, although this one is an exception, and I do think as the day went on, it actually kind of melded with my natural oils and things and became like less dry looking and more natural looking, and so I liked that. And then also it didn't seem to oxidize, and the color of the foundation when I first put it on stayed quite true to shade, so it didn't oxidize, turn more yellow, it didn't really darken, and for me that worked out. It was a shade maybe a little bit light but not too light, and using the bronzer and the powder to help darken it made it look quite the right shade match for me, and especially in person it looked like a very natural shade match. So I did like that. I was able to find a shade that worked pretty well. The coverage was nice coverage. If you have more oily or even combo skin, you might like this foundation better than I did. I do think it wore nicely throughout the day. It didn't seem to get more drying, which is good. I'm going to continue to try it again and let you know. I'll try it and see how it goes another day, but as of the entire day wear test, I did like this one. It's just a little bit too dry for my dry skin, and I definitely preferred it with a brush rather than with a beauty sponge. Overall, I think it was good, not great. I think if you have different skin needs than I do, it might be better for you. So go ahead and let me know in the comments below if you've happened to try this foundation out, Or I would love to know if you have a favorite cruelty-free and vegan foundation that I can find at the drugstore, because I would like to have some more options to share with people, to give some more options depending on what skin tone you have and what might work for you. It's all about finding the right product that works for you. So I thank you very much for being here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. I'll see you next time, and until then, take care of yourself.